and welcome. You're watching Express News, where we bring you a quick wrap-up of all that's making news from around the world. I'm Samriddhi Goyal. Let's get started. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses the inaugural session of the 82nd All India Presiding Officers Conference via video conferencing. Now, speaking on the occasion, the Prime Minister said we have to achieve extraordinary goals to take India to new heights. Marking India's commendable COVID-19 vaccination drive, the Prime Minister said that the country has crossed the target of 110 crore vaccinations, which shows us how all states of the country can work together in the future as well to achieve massive targets like these. PM Modi further said that in the next 25 years, India will be celebrating 100 years of independence, and to continue India's progress, each and every section needs to realize their duties towards the nation. The decisions of the cabinet meeting were today briefed by Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur in New Delhi. The major decisions taken included continuation of the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. The Union Minister said that the approval of continuation of Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana and road connectivity project for left-wing extremism affected areas will largely benefit the tribal population. Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur also said that the cabinet has approved USOF scheme for provision of mobile services in uncovered villages of aspirational districts across 5 states of Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Maharashtra and Odisha. SHRI KARTARPUR Sahib corridor has been thrown open for the pilgrims. The corridor had to be closed in March last year due to COVID-19. A delegation led by CM Charanjit Singh Channi would visit Pakistan tomorrow. Meanwhile, Sikh pilgrims have expressed their gratitude towards PM Modi for opening the gates 2 days before Guru Purab. The nation is all set to celebrate the Prakash Utsav of Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji on the 19th of November. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu today inaugurated the Bengaluru Tech Summit 2021. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison attended the event virtually. Bengaluru Tech Summit will feature multi-track conferences, a business-to-business expo, international exhibitions, a conclave of thought leaders and opportunities for startups to showcase their innovations. Speaking on the occasion, the Vice President said the summit is the confluence of the best minds. It is sure to bring the innovation needed. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurated the 3-day RAKSHA SAMARPAN PARV in JHANSI, Uttar Pradesh today. The Ministry of Defence is organising this program under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath also accompanied the Defence Minister. The Defence Minister addressed the crowd after inaugurating the event at the Muktakashi Manch, which is co-organising the event with the Uttar Pradesh government. Rajnath Singh thereafter opened the Armed Forces equipment display and the Indian Air Force Air Show at Hathi Ground, as well as a number of other cultural events. The Supreme Court heard the matter of the air pollution in Delhi NCR today. The centre submitted that it is not in favour of work from home, as work had been earlier affected due to COVID-19. Centre further submitted that it has issued an advisory to its employees to carpool. The court will hear the case again on next Wednesday. The Commission for Air Quality Management issued a series of directions to the governments of Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh to deal with the air pollution crisis. All schools, colleges and educational institutions in Delhi NCR have been instructed to remain shut. The Commission also directed that at least 50% of staff in government offices in Delhi NCR be allowed to work from home till November 21st in order to cut down on vehicular pollution. The INB Secretary Apurv Chandra and Prasar Bharati CEO Shashi Shekhar Vempati addressed the inaugural session of CII Big Picture Summit. The Big Picture Summit is CII's annual flagship event for the media and entertainment sector. CEO Vempati spoke about the collaboration with private broadcasters in the field of creativity and innovation. Apurv Chandra, Secretary Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, spoke about the government's role in the media industry. He said that the government would like to have a light touch regulation and act more as a facilitator, and that the industry has seen huge growth as it is set to reach $100 billion soon. India hit back at Pakistan for misusing the United Nations platforms to propagate false and malicious propaganda against the country. This came in response to Pakistan after its representative raised the issue of Jammu and Kashmir in the UN Security Council during a debate on maintenance of international peace and security through preventive democracy. India and France held the 15th meeting of their joint working group on counter-terrorism in Paris today. During the meeting, the two sides emphasized the need for taking concerted action against all terrorist networks and reaffirmed their unequivocal condemnation of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. The two sides also underlined the need to ensure that Afghan territory does not become a source of radicalization and terrorism regionally or globally and is never again used to threaten or attack any country or to shelter, recruit or train terrorists or plan or finance terrorist attacks. The 30-share Sensex on Wednesday tumbled 314 points to end at 60,008. Nifty 50 also declined 101 points to end at 17,899. The prices of gold were up by 85 rupees at the MCX to end at 49,123 rupees per 10 grams. Silver prices were also up by 299 rupees at the MCX to end at 66,533 rupees a kilogram. The Indian rupee gained 9 paise to end at 74.28 provisional against the US dollar. Crude oil, on the other hand, was trading 106 rupees or 1.76% lower to end at 5,931 rupees per barrel. Petrol and diesel prices were steady across the country for the 13th successive day today except Rajasthan. Rajasthan government cut down VAT to make petrol 4 rupees cheaper. The petrol is selling at 107.06 per litre in the state capital Jaipur after the tax cut, which is still expensive than many other states. VAT was also cut down on diesel in the state by 5 rupees. Diesel is selling at 90.70 rupees per litre in the state capital. India needs much deeper discussions on the issue of cryptocurrencies, the Reserve Bank Governor Shaktikant Das said at the State Bank of India's Economics Conclave. The RBI Governor also sounded a word of caution to commercial banks over their business practices while acknowledging that they had weathered the pandemic shock better than expected. With the administration of 67,82,042 vaccine doses in the last 24 hours, India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has now exceeded 113.68 crores as per provisional reports till 7 a.m. today. Over 127 crore vaccine doses have been provided to states and union territories so far. Over 20.91 crore balance and unutilized COVID vaccine doses are still available with the states and union territories to be administered. India's active caseload stands at 1,28,555, which is lowest in 527 days. Active cases account for less than 1% of the total cases, currently at 0.37%. It is the lowest since March 2020. Recovery rate currently stands at 98.28%, which is the highest since March 2020. A total of 12,134 recoveries were reported in the last 24 hours. The total recoveries have crossed the 3 crore 38 lakh and 73,000 mark. A total of 10,197 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. Daily positivity rate at 0.82% is less than 2% for the last 44 days. Weekly positivity rate at 0.96% is less than 2% for last 54 days. India has also ramped up its testing capacity. Over 62.70 crore total tests have been conducted so far. COVID-19 continues to batter the world. So far, over 25 crore 51 lakh and 41,000 cases have been reported worldwide, while over 23 crore 6 lakh and 63,000 recoveries have been reported globally. The deadly virus has so far claimed over 51 lakh and 30,000 lives globally. The United States continues to be the worst affected nation by the pandemic. So far, over 4 crore 81 lakh and 61,000 cases have been reported in the country, while death toll has surpassed the 7 lakh and 86,000 mark. Mandatory vaccination or imposing a lockdown on people unvaccinated against COVID-19 raises human rights issues, and countries should consider those measures extremely carefully. Senior WHO official Mike Ryan has said. WHO technical lead for COVID-19, Maria van Kerkhove, warned that cases and deaths are increasing for the 4th week in a row globally. US-based drug maker PFIZER has said that it is seeking US authorization of its experimental antiviral COVID-19 pill that cuts the chance of hospitalization or death for adults at the risk of severe disease by 89% in a clinical trial. PFIZER said it completed submission of its application for emergency use authorization of the drug PAXLOVID with the US Food and Drug Administration, including data from the drug maker's clinical trial. However, it is not immediately clear when United States regulators will rule on PFIZER's application. Now, top US infectious disease official Dr. Anthony Fauci has said it is possible for COVID-19 to be reduced to an endemic illness from the current major health crisis next year if the country ramps up vaccination rates. Booster doses of the COVID-19 vaccines are vital for reaching that point, he said. To get there, Fauci said it would take a lot more people getting vaccinated and getting the booster shots. If the United States makes boosters available for everyone, it is possible the country can get control of the virus by the spring of 2022. As COVID cases rise in France, as in the rest of Europe, those getting their vaccinations on Tuesday are hoping it will help avoid a lockdown. New COVID-19 cases have surpassed a daily average of 10,000. New cases have seen double-digit percentage increases week on week since around mid-October. The government is assured that a lockdown is not on the horizon, but a vaccination center in the Paris suburb of SECY may be viewed by the vaccine as the only way out of the crisis. Europe has again become the epicenter of the pandemic, prompting some countries to consider reintroducing restrictions in the run-up to Christmas and stirring debate over whether vaccines alone are enough to tame COVID-19. Dozens of Italian volunteers have traveled to Havana, Cuba to take part in a clinical trial of the Soberana Plus vaccine. Trial volunteers received medical exams and were jabbed in the La Pradera Health Center in Havana on Tuesday. Now, according to reports, 35 Italian nationals have registered. The Center for State Control of Medicine, Equipment and Medical Devices has said the trial looks to evaluate the vaccine's reactogenicity and immunogenicity. Researchers want to find out if Soberana Plus is compatible with other vaccines. Cuba says its vaccines have an efficacy above 90% and initial results are similar to those of other top vaccines, significantly reducing transmission, critical illness and death. Though critics have complained, those results have yet to be peer-reviewed. Austria has imposed a lockdown on people who are still unvaccinated against the coronavirus. This move comes as winter approaches and infection rise has been registered across Europe, with Britain expanding its booster program to younger adults and Germany will likely impose tighter curbs. Around 2 million unvaccinated people in Austria have been placed into lockdown as the country faces a surge in cases. Police in Vienna on Tuesday carried out spot checks of shoppers' COVID-19 vaccination status as part of a national lockdown on the unvaccinated. In Austria's Salzburg, doctors on Tuesday announced preparations for moving to a triage scheme as a rapidly increasing number of corona patients threaten to overload the intensive care units in the Austrian province. A 6-person triage team has now been set up to decide in an emergency which patients can still be given intensive care. US President Joe Biden said that he expected his Build Back Better legislation to be passed within a week's time. The $1.75 trillion proposal aims to expand the social safety net in the United States and boost climate change policy. More people were urged to leave their homes Tuesday, and officials in a small Washington city near the Canada border are calling the damage devastating after a storm that dumped rain for days caused flooding and mudslides. Suma City officials said that 75% of homes had water damage in the soaking. Additionally, 6 railroad cars that had been sitting on tracks in a BNSF rail yard in Sumas derailed in the flooding Tuesday. Trains in that location and others won't be running until water recedes and debris is removed and tracks are inspected. American journalist Danny Fenster had an emotional reunion with his family on his return to the United States on Tuesday after more than 5 months in a Myanmar prison cell. The United Nations hailed Fenster's release as a positive step but called for at least 47 other journalists in detention to be freed immediately. In Uganda, at least 3 people were killed and over 30 others injured in a suicide blast in the capital, Kampala. The attacks were conducted by 3 suicide bombers who blew themselves up near the parliament and the city's police headquarters. Police said intelligence indicated the Islamic State-aligned allied democratic forces were responsible for the attack. The explosion sent members of the parliament and others rushing for cover as cars burst into flames in the latest in a wave of bomb attacks. The attacks came within 3 minutes of each other. More bombs have been found in other parts of the city. A video published by Polish officials on Twitter shows that the crossing point compound has been cleared on the Belarusian side. The migrants are seemingly returning to their former makeshift camp located a few hundred meters further alongside the borderline. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said he was deeply concerned about how Belarus was putting the lives of vulnerable migrants at risk. Israeli startup firm Redefine Meat has expanded operations into Europe, where it hopes to reach thousands of restaurants by the end of next year and served for the first time its plant-based whole cuts of alternative meat. The 3D printed beef substitute was rolled out in Israel as well as Germany, the Netherlands and the United Kingdom. Now a mix of soy and pea protein, chickpeas, beetroot, nutritional yeast and coconut fat. It mimics flank steak, which is also known as bavette. The company, which until now worked with about 150 restaurants in Israel, said the whole cuts will broaden the appeal of alternative meat products that have mostly been limited to ground beef dishes, including hamburgers and sausages. Australia's Hunter Valley winemakers toasted the return of guests to their wineries as people gain confidence travelling regionally after the COVID-19 lockdown that grasped the New South Wales for months. At Savannah Estate, tables were full with people enjoying Hunter Valley wine, experiencing wine tastings and stocking up on supplies. Sydney emerged from over 100 days of lockdown on October 11th, with restaurants and cellar doors still operating under patron limits. Still, fifth-generation winemaker and owner of Ivanhoe Wines, Stephen Drayton, says the COVID-imposed guidelines have actually helped streamline the cellar door experience for their guests. North Korean kindergarten introduced various extracurricular activities to get a head start in nurturing talent in their young students. In a video released by North Korea's official news agency KCNA, young children were seen participating in various activities including dance, guitar and calligraphy classes after their regular academic lessons at Munhung Kindergarten. From a back-flipping gymnast to ball control tricks to a man pulling a car while walking on his hands, this year's Guinness World Records Day is as colourful as ever. Talent from around the world have smashed all kinds of records for the 18th annual GWR Day today. The British gymnast broke his own record for the farthest backflip between 2 horizontal bars when he managed to propel himself 6 meters through the air. Meanwhile, in China, balanced on his hands, Zhang Shuang pulled a car for 50 meters in just 1 minute and 13.27 seconds, the fastest time to date. Other winners include American Tyso Fly Phillips. The 21-year-old broke the record for the most consecutive cars jumped over on a pogo stick after he bounced over 5 stationary black cabs in London. Parisians enjoyed the annual Christmas decorations of the capital's most famous department stores on Monday while the country grapples with a new surge in COVID-19 cases. Families and passers-by crowded the sidewalks in front of the galleries Lafayette and Printemps stores as automated figures mined fake gold or held bottles of Chanel perfume. The Royal Botanical Gardens in Kew, southwest London were illuminated with festive light a day ahead of welcoming the public. Now, this year's Christmas at Kew returns for its 9th year with both old and new installations set to be lit by over 1 million lights. Organizers say there could more than this figure for this year. In addition to returning and popular installations such as the Fire Garden with over 150 heads of the fire and the Christmas Cathedral that is made up of a 30-meter long promenade of LED vines, the 2021 event showcases brand new sites. Over 25 kilometers of cable has been used throughout the trail. This year's trail is 2.5 kilometers long and has 14 installations and 3 light shows. Over 100 people have been involved in putting the trail together. Visitors can also see Father Christmas and his elves as well as enjoy traditional rides and festive treats. The first ever SECY Institutional Awards for athletes and coaches were given out by the Sports Authority of India on Wednesday in the presence of the Union Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports Anurag Singh Thakur and Minister of State for Youth Affairs and Sports Nisith Pramanik. A total of 162 athletes and 84 coaches have been conferred with a cash award amounting to Rs 85.2 lakhs during the ceremony at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. Indian shuttler Kidambi Srikanth notched up a superb win to make a positive start at the Indonesia Masters Super Badminton Tournament. Srikanth staved off a stiff challenge from world number 71 Francis Christo Popov 21-18, 15-21, 21-16 in an hour and 15 minutes. Indian shuttler H.S. Pranoy entered the pre-quarters of the Indonesia Masters Super 750 Badminton Tournament after a thumping win. Pranoy defeated Malaysian badminton player Liu Daren 22-20, 21-17 in the round of 32 game. Roger Federer says he is unlikely to play Wimbledon next year and has confirmed he will miss the Australian Open as he recovers from an injury. The 20-time Grand Slam champion has not played since losing in the Wimbledon quarterfinals in July and having more knee surgery. BCCI President Sourav Ganguly has been appointed as the chairman of the ICC's Cricket Committee. Now, Ganguly will be replacing his former India teammate Anil Kumble, who has served the maximum of three-year terms after being appointed in 2012. Australia have named a 15-man squad for the first 2 Ashes test against England. Batter Usman Khawaja is recalled, having not played test cricket since August 2019 when Australia retained the Ashes with a 2-2 draw in England. All-rounder Mitchell Marsh, who made a match-winning innings in the T20 World Cup final, has not been selected. Netherlands qualified for the next year's World Cup with a 2-0 home victory over Norway on Tuesday to win Group G. Netherlands forwards Steven Bourgeois and Memphis Depay struck late to send their country into the 2022 World Cup finals. World champions France have continued their winning streak in the ongoing qualifiers for the next year's Football World Cup in Qatar. In the match played late on Tuesday, France managed to beat Finland 2-0. Now, France, who has already qualified for the World Cup, maintained their dominance throughout the match. The match between Brazil and Argentina in the South American World Cup qualifier ended in a goalless draw. Throughout the match, both the teams were seen trying to score goals. After this match was drawn, Brazil remains on top while Argentina is in the second place. Bolivia beat Uruguay 3-0 in the South American qualifier itself. After this defeat, it has become very difficult for Uruguay to qualify for the World Cup. Bolivia beat Uruguay 3-0 in South American qualifier. The trailer of the Amazon Prime Video's upcoming Hindi film offering Chori is out. The film is a horror flick set against a rural backdrop. Actor Vijay Devarakonda kick-started the US schedule of his upcoming Dharma Productions film, much anticipated film Liger with boxing legend Mike Tyson. Satyamev Jayate 2 makers have released the new song from the movie, which has been titled as Jan Gan Man. Ajay Devgan has shared the first look poster of his upcoming next film titled Vele. The film will bring together Karan Deol and Abhay Deol. A 3-part documentary about children's favourite Barney the dinosaur has kick-started production at Peacock. Actor Rumer Willis has been roped in to star in the upcoming comedy My Divorce Party, the feature directorial debut of Heidi Weitzer. The first look of actor Austin Butler as the King of Rock and Roll, Elvis Presley, is out with the recently released teaser of the untitled biopic on the legendary musician. Netflix has officially released the trailer for its upcoming political dark comedy film Don't Look Up that stars Hollywood actors Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence. Scottish actor Brian Cox, widely known for playing Logan Roy on HBO's Succession, is making his film directorial debut with Glenn Rotten. And the cast of House of Gucci continued the red carpet celebrations of their new film in New York. The all-star cast posed for pictures ahead of the screening at Rose Hall. Well, that's all we have for you today in today's edition of Express News. Do keep watching DD India for the latest news updates. Thanks for watching.